When did you become aware of the situation with Mr. McKay?
I had a call on Sunday morning that Mr. McKay had been involved in the RCP, I believe it was the RCP on Saturday, and I was informed that.
Are you aware of the circumstances of where and when exactly this happened?
No, my understanding is he was picked up while driving under the influence not far from where he lived, and he's now seeking treatment.
Did Mr. McKay contact you personally, or did somebody else call?
No, I had a call into my office. Yesterday was a day of, we left Mr. McKay yesterday. Hugh and I spoke to him this morning about the issue. He is seeking treatment for an addiction that has been, he's been recovering from for quite some time, and he's had great success in recovery. And now this is to go back to deal with the issue of recovery.
Was he involved in an accident or just pulled over?
To my understanding, there was no accident. He was picked up, and quite frankly, I want to thank law enforcement for the fact that he was preventing that. Many ramifications from impaired driving, thankfully. This is one that Mr. McKay will have to deal with and not other families.
Are you aware of whether during his tenure as MLA, Mr. McKay has been stopped any other times or had any other driving issues related to alcohol?
Not at all. No, I don't know of any other situations related to that. I can tell you the first I heard of it was today, or this week when I was called that he got picked up for impaired. And we'd be having a very different conversation, quite frankly, if he had not accepted responsibility and was seeking treatment. This is a disease that's impacted many Nova Scotians. But the driving component of this means you moving it from on an individual impact to one that impacts all of us if we're on the highway, and accepting responsibility for that and going into treatment is a critical component for me.
The
What's his
statement
future
goes
with the
back
Liberal
about
Party?
15 years. Is this something that you had no inkling of before?
I knew he was recovering for sure. There's many friends of mine. I know lots of people were recovering, but I had no indication at all that there was that he was in a relapse. My message to anyone, whether it's with this particular issue or other circumstances, if you're struggling, reach out to people who care about you. That's the message for us. This is not judgmental on my part. I would have preferred to have known about this a long time ago, so I could have helped him provide the supports that were required. But this is a disease, quite frankly, that every family gets touched by in some form or another. My grateful he's going into treatment. This is an important step. Accept ownership and begin a journey back to health.
From
Mr.
your
McKay
understanding,
isn't
had
in
the
the House
relapse
today.
begun before this incident? Had he relapsed months?
I have
years
no
ago?
knowledge of that.
He didn't talk to you about that?
No. He did talk to me about this has been something for that he recovered from 15 years ago.
When do you expect him to be back in the House?
I'm not 100% sure. That potentially could be very shortly, or it depends on what treatment looks like.
And what's his-
There are many people who go into a 21-day program, but there's other who do day treatment programs, which allows you to function. But that'll determine, the treatment will be determined by him and his healthcare team.
Are you planning to discipline?
My today is recognition that this disease impact many families across this province. He's taken ownership of the issue. As I said, if he hadn't, I'd have been having a very different conversation with him. But he's taken ownership and seeking treatment, and like everyone who seeks treatment, I think their employer should support that.
Premier, the Tories, are we okay to switch?
Just one more. He is an MLA for a largely rural constituency. If his license is suspended for a prolonged period of time, will he be able to do his job effectively?
I believe he will. Those will be questions, and those will have to determine how he does that, but I believe he will. We all have support staff in our constituency who can help us deal with that issue. All of us who are employed at different levels across this province who run into this situation have to find ways to work, whether it's actually at a fixed spot or whether your job is one that's mobile, and he will have to do that.
I just wanted to ask you briefly about the bill the Tories brought forward today that would make it law that a by-election must be called within 30 days of an MLA resigning, and then within calling it another 46 days after that to actually hold it. What are your thoughts on a bill that would expedite the process?
Well, listen, I don't have any issue with it. We'll look at what the bill comes forward, but the reality is every party has a process. That they have to follow the process to make sure they have a fair and open nomination. Most parties, that's 30 days to allow people to go sign people up and go through that. If they want to get rid of that for their party, they want to close it down. for people who might be interested in running for them, then that's something they should talk about. I think if you look at the current structure that we've looked at and said, how do we best do that? I could have, in essence, there's all kinds of circumstances related to that. The current law gives flexibility. I've been pretty open. If you go back and look at all of the records that I've called, or all the by-elections I've called, it's been about 100 days. If you follow those processes, that means every party, I've given leaders heads up, get your notice promise on the go, all of those kinds of things. So they want to stick on the one in Sackville, which there's all kinds of circumstances, winter being one of them. But we'll look at it. If they think it's appropriate for them, we'll certainly, I'm sure, have a look at it.
Premier, today marks what would have been the final day of the ferry season. The ferry didn't run this year. Do you have anything to say to Nova Scotians? Is the government taking responsibility for what happened this season?
I think I would say to Nova Scotians, we've seen the drop in the tourism numbers in southwestern Nova Scotia. It's why the importance of this service is so important. It's why we've continued to work with our partner. The reality is we're dealing with the U.S. administration that has a different setup when it comes to how do we get through customs. We're working with them to find our way through customs, and we're confident the work that's ongoing. But like them, I'm frustrated that there was not a season this year. But again, as I go back to when you look at the adjustment in the tourism numbers from the last number of years to this one, I hope all members of the House recognize the importance of this service.
Thanks, Premier.
Thank you.